Hi, Patricia. Hi, Anna. Oh God, it's going fast now.
Yeah.
Hi, Karen. Hi,
We are
Daria.
live.
Hi, Alexia. Hi.
Okay, so we are live right now. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Hello again, and welcome. Welcome to this event, an event that is part of the third edition of FestivalYA, a festival organized by Trei Publishing House and hrăneşte. My name is Andreea Chepac, and I'm going to be your host tonight. And we are gathered here in a pretty large number, I would say, to meet a very special person, a well-known young adult author, a very loved one, and the creator of the Grishaverse. Leigh Bardugo, welcome. And thank you so much for being here with us.
I'm so happy to be here. And guys, I have to apologize. I have allergies, so my eyes are watering. It's not just tears of joy to see your beautiful faces. I just have a little allergy situation.
So I know this is not your first meeting with your Romanian readers. I know you had another one in 2016, I think. I hope I get the date right. I'm going to take a moment to talk about your books that have been translated in Romanian by Trei Publishing House, and I'm going to name them. We're talking about the Shadow and Bone trilogy, the two books from the Six of Crows, the King of Scars, and the Ninth House. I'm going to also mention the Shadow and Bone Netflix series, because I'm sure that are going to be a lot of questions about that. So please, when you do have a question, write to us in chat, in the chat of this meeting, and I'm going to say your name. You're going to open your mic and you're going to shout your question to Leigh. Before that, I don't know, I'm going to break the ice with the first question. So Leigh, I want to talk about your book, The Ninth House. I know that it's right now it's being developed for television by Amazon. What can you tell us about that?
I can tell you we have a showrunner, and that I've been working. I have to be super careful because we haven't announced anything, but I've been working with that person and that company for a few months now. We just revised the pilot. I think it's the best one we've turned in, so I'm excited about it. And now we're waiting to hear from Amazon if we're going to get to make this. So everybody, please keep your fingers crossed. I'm super excited about it, and it's been really joyful to work on. And it's also sort of given me a boost in working on the sequel, Hellbent, that we just released the cover for, I think, a few weeks ago. I've lost all sense of time at this point, but I'm right now revising the second draft of that, which will go into my editor on Monday. So it's nice to be back in the world. I really love writing Alex. I love writing Darlington. So I hope we get to make the show.
I can wait to see the show and read the sequel. So
yeah, I think it would be very exciting to make. I'm hoping if we do it, that we'll be able to shoot at Yale. So we'll just have to see. That's a little ways away.
So finger crossed, like everybody is saying in chat. Well, let's begin with the questions. The first question comes from Bianca. Bianca, if you hear us, open your mic and tell us your question.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. I wanted to ask you, with what character do you think you relate the most? To what character?
That's a tough question because hi Bianca. I think it's a tough question because there's a little bit of me in all of them. You know, I think finding those places of similarity helps to really keep the characters grounded. I think there's a lot of me in Alex Stern. I think there's a little of me in Darlington because I'm a total snob and I love books and magic so much. I think there's a lot of me in Kaz, which is slightly terrifying to admit, but there's some truth to that. There's some of me in Nina. I wish I had her confidence. I'll say that too. And honestly, I think there's quite a bit of me in Wylan. I remember writing Crooked Kingdom and writing some of his feelings about shame and insecurity and his desire to, the voice he hears in his head every time he tries to do something new. And that's very much sort of this difficult voice I hear in my head saying, no, you can't do it. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not strong enough. And I think getting to write those kinds of feelings helps to also push them back and move forward. So, yeah.
I also relate to Wylan a lot. Thank you for answering.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Bianca. The next one is Pop Miruna. Miruna, if you can hear us.
Yes. So first of all, I'm a huge fan. Like I read all your books. Like I have here Rule of Fools, and I don't know if you can see, but I read this like 5 times. Oh my! It's my copying machine. Like I get sad or angry or something, I just pick your book and so I'm like, no, this helped me to get off this life and read something good. So my first question is, how you create your characters? Because reading your books, I relate so much with your characters. Like physically, I relate with Alina. That is the skinny, not that beauty girl. And the reading fantasy books, I'm like, oh my god, I'm so sick of reading about these perfect girls with perfect face, perfect body, and reading about Alina, who is a skinny girl, or about Nina, who is a plus size, confident woman. And I love that of her because it's a big representation, or reading about this is a spoiler from Rule of Fools, but the character who is Han. I just say that I really enjoy that. So how you create them and how you put this together to make this not perfect character. They are not good or evil like Kaz. They are something good and something evil. That is all I think about when I read your books. They don't are the perfect heroes who want to save the world. They have their, I don't know, pain or their evil things, but they have good things, and that's make them perfect in that way.
Thank you. I think that you sort of put your finger on it already, which is that I don't set out to write good guys or bad guys. It's not about heroes and villains. It's about people who want things and the things they're willing to do to get them. And sometimes they're figuring that out as they go, right? Like they're deciding how far they're willing to go, what they're willing to compromise on, the kind of harm they're willing to do. And that's definitely at the heart of Rule of Wolves, right? It's what are we willing, who do we want to be when we're presented with hardship or danger? And what are we willing to do? What distinguishes us from our enemies? And I think as far as Nina or Hannah or Alina go, for me, I think it's become very important to me for my fantasy world to feel as welcoming as possible to every type of person. And I think, unfortunately, I grew up reading a lot of books that made it feel like, magic and romance and adventure belong to one kind of person, and I want those things to belong to everybody. Magic should belong to everybody. So that's definitely one of the guiding principles of my work now, and something that I've tried to get better at as I've gone along.
Okay, thank you. And I have another question. So I know you are kind of ending with Grishaverse, I guess, because really as well some stories, but some stories don't finish for me. Like reading Rule of Fools, I'm like, no, I need answer right now about some characters. I don't want to say because I don't think every person from here reading, because the Rule of Fools is released like 1 month ago in Romania. So yeah, but I need some answers because you let some character story in. Don't finish way, and I need to know about that. But
I can tell you that when I started Rule of Wolves, I had every intention of writing another Grishaverse novel after it. But I think that the show and the growth of the popularity of the series, in some ways, it got too noisy. Like I'm very proud of the work I've done in the Grishaverse, and I am not saying it's done. We have some plans for some of the smaller characters in the books, particularly in Rule of Wolves, to get their own stories. And I can't say that I won't someday return to it. I have definitely a big story in my head that I could imagine writing, but it's not going to be anytime soon. I have some more books that I want to write before that. And all I can offer is I always leave doors open at the end of the stories. And my hope is that even if I don't end up writing that story, that you or somebody else will write the fan fiction of it, will come up with, you know, the kind of epilogue to these stories, and maybe have the chance to sort of imagine all of the possible futures for the Grishaverse that I can't write right now.
Oh yes, thank you. Like I read a lot of fan fiction. Yes, I'm that kind of girl. And some people create some background stories for the Darkling or for the other characters, and I'm like, wow, this is like they put their all mind here and create some amazing things. But I hope you in some future, not right now, create some new. And the final question is, you want to explore more genre, like I don't know.
Miruna, sorry to interrupt you. I know that you have a lot of questions.
Oh,
we will have.
sorry.
But we have only 1 hour. So I will please everybody to have only one question. So sorry, Miruna. I know I interrupted you. I hope it's okay.
It's okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you also. So let's move on to Elsa Lepădatu, who has another question for you.
Thank you so much. So first of all, hello. I have to have a little bit of a fangirl moment. First of all, I absolutely love your rings. They're really pretty. And you're so pretty. Anyway, I'm gonna try to keep this short. But I was wondering mostly about writing. So in Six of Crows, which is my all-time favorite book, we have so many points of view, and in a lot of books with multiple POVs, the characters get mixed up, and that absolutely did not happen. They all have such distinctive voices, and I was wondering how you were able to make that come through, because it's absolutely crazy to me.
Thank you very much. Look, the thing you'll hear me say again and again when I'm talking about writing is that writing is all about revision, right? So in the first draft of Six of Crows, I don't think those voices were as distinct. I think some people arrived speaking loudly and clearly immediately. Inej was one of those, Matthias was one of those, but like Jesper's voice, Nina's voice didn't lock in until later drafts. And one of my favorite tricks is to actually read the POVs out loud, because I'll find myself really like leaning into the character, leaning into the voice, adopting their cadence. And so I'm hearing, you know, I focus in on those spaces where I really hear them loudly. And then I try to make sure, say, okay, here's the voice, let's keep that consistent throughout. And that can be everything from their sense of humor. Okay, people have different, you know, Nikolai has this kind of wordy sense of humor. That man loves to talk, you know, whereas somebody like Kaz has a much drier sense of humor. All of the characters have a different educational background. They're going to use different metaphors when they talk. You know, Jesper frequently refers to his childhood on the farm. That's where he's pulling some from. Sometimes he's pulling from gambling. You know, Kaz's sense of humor comes from the language of cons. Nina's is much more lively, you know, when she says, you know, you wouldn't know a good time if it sidled up to you and stuck a lollipop in your mouth. You know, she's got that sass. So finding those moments when the character is really loud in your head and focusing in on them, and then using that to develop the POV, I think is important. And always, always read, not the first draft, maybe not even the second draft, but when you start getting into the later drafts and you really want to get those voices to sing, you have to read out loud. Because that's really going to tell you how the character is supposed to sound, and that's going to come through on the page.
Thank you so much for answering and for being here. And I would also like to add, I think I speak for everyone, you always say that if you write Six of Crows 3, it has to have a plot. But I would just like to say that I would be completely okay with just reading about them eating cake and Nina eating waffles. So thank you so much. And even a short story, just anything, please.
All right, I will definitely keep that in mind. I do love plot and terrible things happening, but I can see a very enjoyable story where they all just go shopping and have a nice snack.
Well, thank you so much. We're almost 200 people now, so we're gonna go on with Ioana Albu, your question.
Hello. So first of all, I would just like to say that I love your book so much. Here's Six of Crows, and here's the proof. I have like little stick notes that I use on books that I love. I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet. So while reading Six of Crows, I noticed that you brought together characters with different pasts who found their way to make their lives better one way or another. Some of them believed in something greater, in saints, some of them were saints, and some of them believed in themselves. Now, my question would be, what do you think would be the impact in the real world of the books, of the message that people can achieve their dreams, no matter who they are, no matter where they come from, and that they can shape their own destinies rather than just, let it flow?
This is, again, something that's important to me in terms of fantasy. I absolutely get how enjoyable plots are where somebody turns out to be royalty, or they come from a long line of magicians. Like, I absolutely love those stories. So I don't want to sound like I'm saying that they aren't great. I think that really speaks to something in us that wants to believe we have a great destiny and wants to believe somebody's going to show up and say, you're a wizard, Harry, or, you're the long lost, Princess of Genovia, or whatever it's going to be. Like, I absolutely love that trope. But as somebody who is not of royal blood and doesn't come from a long line of magicians, it was important to me to tell stories about the people who sometimes fall through the cracks and who the world views as expendable, because the majority of us don't come from a royal lineage. And I tend to believe that the people who really make a difference in this world are not the big players, or not the celebrities, or not the stars. They're the people who find something they're passionate about and that they care about, and then they pursue that. I think there's tremendous power in that. When I started out in publishing, I didn't know anybody. I had no connections. I just was somebody who had a story to tell. And that's something I really try to tell young writers. And I'm telling all of you right now, it doesn't matter who you know or how many likes you have or followers. What matters is that you're telling a story nobody else can tell. There's so much power in that. And so I think that's built into all of my stories too. It's about the people who are maybe not the strongest, maybe not the fanciest, but who have the courage to pursue something they care about. So I hope you will, and I hope you'll tell all your stories. And then I hope you'll thank me in your acknowledgements.
Thank you so much. And I think you inspired everyone in this chat, every writer to be. Now, there's one more thing. I have a question from a friend who didn't really manage to join us today, sadly. If there is time, is it possible to ask it?
Yes, it is a short one.
Yes, very short. So the question is, what inspired you to give Kaz the trauma that he has?
I mean, I will honestly say that I worked backward with Kaz. Kaz showed up in my head in a way that very few characters do. I saw him with his gloves. I saw him with his cane. And then he had to tell me all about what happened and where this all came from. And I have a very clear memory of being in this little room. I was staying in this house at the time. It was built in like 1923. And I was working on this, and I was writing Kaz's backstory and the story of his brother and what happened to them. And I kind of came out of it having written these many thousands of words and was just depressed, like was just really sad and felt kind of broken by it. And then I went and wrote like 2 chapters of Nina and Matthias, like banter, just to like cheer myself up, like to get out of that headspace, because every time I was in Kaz's head, it was sort of like this darkness crept in, and I needed to kind of be aware of that. But in general, I think when you're writing about trauma, we all have things in our past that shape us. They don't decide who we are, but they influence the decisions we make, the strength we have, the things we're carrying with us that maybe we want to let go of, or that maybe we want to hold closer and say, this is a part of me and a part of my armor. These are the weapons I carry into the world and into whatever hardship I'm going to face. And the only thing I would say is that we shouldn't use the tragic backstory, that we shouldn't use trauma as a kind of misery tourism, right? That we really have to think about and research the kinds of things that influence us and that are a part of that trauma if we want to be responsible about it.
Thank you so much. And please don't kill anyone else in Six of Crows 3. No.
No promises, no promises, I see. So the next reader is Larissa Krista.
Hi, Leigh. So I have a question regarding, I think it's the most wanted couple ever. Is there any opportunity in the next Six of Crows book that we can see more Inej and Kaz moments? Like I'm rooting for them. I'm really hoping to somehow end up together, and I'm going to be heartbroken if it's not going to happen. Not really like to be together, but just more close moments, you know? Like I just need them, please.
If I ever write Six of Crows 3, there's no question that Kaz and Inej will be a big part of that. And in my head, at least, they kind of are together, like in their own strange, difficult, wounded way. They are still an incredibly important support for each other, even if they're not in the same part of the world, even if they're fighting different battles. To me, they are, you know, like an A-frame, like they support each other, you know, and they have found a kind of peace with each other that they don't have with other people.
Thank you so much for answering.
Thank you also for your question. The next one is Maya Burghela.
Hi. So I just wanted to say that I really, really love your books, and I think they shaped me as a person, especially as a teenager recently. And my questions were about the characters, and they were pretty much answered. And I just really want to thank you for creating these characters in this beautiful world.
Thank you. Thank you for reading. It means a lot to me.
The next one is Ioana Elincariu.
Yes, hi, Leigh. It's really nice to meet you. I don't have the book at the moment. I gave it to my sister because I need her to read your book, Six of Crows. My question is, if you would have to choose to spend a whole day with one character from Six of Crows, which one would it be?
Oh my goodness. I'm gonna choose, it's honestly between Nina and Jesper because they're the most fun. I feel like I would be at less risk with Nina, less chance of getting into a gunfight, you know, although then maybe a magic fight, you know, and now, I don't know, given where you've got to read the rest of the books because if I'm not sure I'd want to hang with Nina at present. I'm going to choose Jesper. I think he's the most fun. And it's hard for me not to think of Jesper as Kit now from the show. And he's just a total delight. So, but they're all delightful. I don't know. I'm gonna choose Jesper.
Thank you so much. It was nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Thank you for your question. And the next one is Teodora Maria Corcodel.
Hi, first of all, nice to meet you. I love your books. I read all of them. I have them all in special editions. So what I wanted to ask, without giving any spoilers, so in King of Crows, King of Scars, you kind of defied the rules that you established in the first Grisha verse, so like with the powers and stuff. Did you think you were going to go this far, like when you first wrote the book? Did you think you were going to expand this universe and their powers and give, I don't know, this much nuance to the saints and everything?
For me, there's always been this sort of fun tension in the Grishaverse that lives between science and magic and folklore, right? And you really see this in Language of Thorns, my book of fairy tales, because you will recognize some of the people, like you can see that some of the same characters that appear in Language of Thorns in one type of story appear in a very different kind of telling in King of Scars and the Lives of Saints. So to me, that tension between the way we look at power, the way we interpret miracles is very powerful and something I love playing with. Did I know that I was going to get a chance to write this book? No, because when I was writing Shadow and Bone, I didn't know if anybody would even want Siege and Storm and Rune and Rising. Like I had never published a book before. And I certainly hadn't planned everything out. I know that like Brandon Sanderson plans like 35 books ahead, but I don't have that kind of brain. So for me, when I reached the end of the trilogy, I was like, I am definitely going to write a story for Nikolai, but I don't know when. I'm going to step away, do something different. Then I got the idea for Six of Crows and I was like, okay, I really want to tell this story. It's really different from what I've done before, so I'm going to do that. And then that changed what Nikolai's story was going to be. So for me, I always have a plan of where I want to end, but I try to stay flexible and open to where the story wants to take me. And for me, it was also, I wanted to play with the magic, and I wanted to break some of the rules that I had set, but I wanted to make sure that there were repercussions and for breaking those rules. You can't just break them and be like, yay, it's done. Like there has to be some kind of story, some kind of weight to what you've done, some kind of sacrifice.
So I wanted to ask another quick question. What response do you have to the Dark Alina shippers? Because I know you've said you've based this relationship on a past toxic one for you. So I wanted to know how you see their shippers.
Look, as far as I'm concerned, I always say every ship is welcome in the harbor, right? Like I didn't build the Darkling to be just a twirling mustache villain who everybody would hate. Like I wanted people to feel conflicted about him and to understand why he was so compelling. So I absolutely get it. And I have no problem with that. The only problem I have is when people try to defend his actions and say, you know, by all means, ship them, like be in it. I don't think that romance has to be always healthy and wholesome. Fiction is where we get to play some of this out and enjoy these kind of fantasies. My only problem is when people try to pretend that he's a good guy. He's not. He does a lot of very horrible things. And there are a lot of things I can forgive because I like characters who pursue things in a ruthless way. But I think the difference for me is there are certain things like I can't forgive what he did to Genya. Okay. Like I will never be able to forgive that. And I find it disturbing that people seem to forget about her. And I think when I was writing about Genya and about Zoya in Rule of Wolves and King of Scars, that was part of what I was writing about, how easy it is to forget the kind of cruelty that young women are subjected to and to brush away the trauma that they experience for the sake of somebody who is charismatic and compelling. So I think that's the part that I can't quite get behind. But as far as shipping, Darklina, by all means do. That is the right of fans and they should enjoy themselves.
Thank you so much. This has been wonderful for me. So thank you for all that you've done for all of us and giving us hope that and people to relate to.
So the next reader that gets to ask the question is Voican Elena.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
I can.
Yay, I'm such a big fan and I'm so excited. I can't find my words right now, but I want to talk about how much I love your books. I have a book club named Carpe Diem, and we've recently read your books and watched the show. We love so much all your writings. But my question is, how did you think of creating the Grishaverse? And did you were inspired by some culture or some I don't know, book or something else? Because in my mind it sounds very Slavic, and the names of the countries and the characters are so difficult to pronounce.
I think I mean, compared to like Wheel of Time or Lord of the Rings, I don't think they're that difficult to pronounce, but this is what fantasy others love to do. They love to give you these complicated names and then tell you you've been pronouncing them the wrong way the whole time. For me, when I was setting out to write Shadow and Bone, I knew that I was going to draw on Slavic cultures and specifically, in some cases, Russian and Bulgarian and Ukrainian cultures, their folklore, the food, the history, because my family is Russian and Lithuanian on one side, and but we're Jewish. And so growing up, Russia was this place of tremendous beauty and grandeur, and also a place of terror and brutalization. And so for me growing up, it almost had already become a kind of fantasy land. And there were very particular things I wanted to do in that first trilogy with this idea of a conscripted army, a very young, ill-equipped conscripted army, a monarchy that was very out of touch with its people, this radical division between rich and poor, and this sense of isolation from the rest of the world, this failure to industrialize, this failure to keep up with these other countries that were moving ahead in terms of technology. So in many ways, Russian history and Soviet history lent themselves very powerfully to that. And when it came to building Kerch and Ketterdam, I was heavily influenced by the Dutch Republic of the 1700s and the shipping empires that operated out of there, the kind of sense of religion being linked to financial success and profit. And there were other influences too: Las Vegas, old New York, Venice, even London, Victorian London, they're all in there. But for me, those are always jumping off points. And I will say for the writers who are listening, it is, you should always research, but you should also make sure that the story that you're telling feels true to you and to your history as well. So you can use these things as jumping off points and cultural touchstones to create a sense of reality in your worlds, but to also feel free to develop your own locations and stories. And that's something that I got much more confident with as I moved through the series. And it also doesn't happen all at once, right? This is also a case where a revision is going to help you as you build this world. You don't have to know everything about it when you start. You're going to find that the research you do does actually shape the story itself and what happens to the characters as well.
Thank you so much for talking with me and for creating these beautiful characters and this world. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I see that while we are talking, you are forming a book club in the chat. That's right, guys. What are you doing there?
I love that.
Well, they're going to answer to us at some point. The next one is Patricia. Patricia, can you tell us your question and what are you doing there?
Oh my God, hello. I'm so honored to talk to you. I absolutely love your books. I follow you on Instagram for years. Your books are amazing. And I'm a young writer, and I want to ask you, what is the best advice for young authors? Because I feel like sometimes I'm so busy with school and I get in writing slumps, and then I feel like I'm not productive enough, and then I feel like writing for like 2 whole days, and I just don't know how to balance everything. And I would really appreciate it if you would answer that question for me.
I mean, I guess I'd say a few things. First of all, I think there's so much pressure on young writers to get published right away, like get published before you go to college, like this idea that somehow the opportunity is going to go away and nobody's going to want to read your book. I didn't get published until I was 37. Okay. I didn't write my first book until I was 35. I wanted to, I didn't know how to. I don't recommend waiting that long, but I think the most important thing to remember is there's no expiration date on your talent. Okay. Everybody has pressures in their life, and beating yourself up for that is not going to make it easier to write. It's going to make it harder to write. And the trick we have to perform as writers is to accept the moments, like the days when writing feels great and where the words are just unspooling in front of you, but to also understand that the days that feel bad, when the words don't come easily, when you feel stuck, those days are important too. And they aren't signs that you're failing or you're not being productive enough or you're not on the right path. They're actually just a sign that you're trying to do something bigger and more challenging than you've ever done before. So when you're having those difficult days, I want you to try to reframe them, okay? I want you to hear me in your head saying, this is a sign that I'm on the right path, okay? This difficulty, this feeling of failure is a sign that I am trying to do something challenging and important and that I should be doing. And if you can reframe those difficult days and get to the end of that draft and finish the story, that is the difference between having the dream of being a writer and actually getting to do it. So I want you to think of those hard days as just part of the process. And there's something that we all experience. I don't know a single writer, no matter what level, no matter how many books they've written, that doesn't experience that. There are days you feel like a genius and days when you feel like, boy, I am terrible at this job. So learn to embrace both of those things as being part of being an author and being a writer, and just keep moving forward.
Thank you so much for answering my question. I absolutely love you. Thank you. You're so pretty.
The next one is Daria reads. Daria, do you hear us?
Hi, Leigh. I wanted to start off by thanking you for coming here. I'm really excited to talk to you. My question is actually about the Netflix series for Shadow and Bone. We all love the actors and the first season. So I wanted to ask when the second season is coming and if it's going to be a mix of the Crows and Nina and the Darkling and Mal.
Yep. So this is what I would say about season 2. I've just started to see rough cuts of the episodes come in. They don't tell me when things are going to be released. My guess is it would be sometime next year because there's so many special effects and things that have to happen. I just don't know. And they do not tell me. They'll just call me up one day and be like, guess what? It's happening. So, but my guess is they're going to pop us in that same April spot. So we'll see. I love the new cast. I got to visit Budapest. Oh gosh, when was it? I think it was in February, and I got to have dinner with everybody and hang out on set for a while. And it was truly magical. There's something in me that felt like, okay, now the whole family's together, right? Like we had so many of the characters, but like getting to see Tolya and Tamar and Nikolai and Wylan, like just to get to see all of them in one place was just incredible. It felt like, okay, no matter what happens, no matter if we get a third season, like at least we got to see them all together. Like it just means so much to me. And I can tell you that in this season, it's going to be much more evenly balanced. Like season 1 was very Shadow and Bone focused, and the Crows were part of that. In this season, you're going to see some sort of new stories, some sort of what if these timelines crossed, but you're going to be seeing a lot more Crows. And you're going to be seeing some stuff that you'll recognize that was pulled from the Crows books, Crows duology specifically.
Thank you. Well, now you made me really excited. I can't wait.
Me too.
I can't wait to read more.
So the next one is Ana Enescu.
Oh my goodness. Hello. I am very, very excited to meet you. Sorry, I've got all the books right over here. I wanted to, it's the whole stack. So I wanted to ask what inspired you to create Nina Zenik, because she's my favorite character. She's very near and dear to my heart. So
I mean, all of the characters in Six of Crows sort of started out, that was a book that I sold on proposal, which means you write an outline and you describe all of the characters and then you set about writing the book. But the truth is the characters don't really come alive until you're writing them. So originally Nina was just, a heartrender using her gifts to survive in the slums. And I had thought years and years before I wrote Six of Crows, oh, I want to write a novella. I want to write a story about a witch hunter and a Grisha who are forced to work together. And so the idea, that survival story of them surviving in the wilderness together became their backstory. And then became, you know, and then what happens moving forward from that was what was sort of the engine of Nina's story in Six of Crows. But I think too, you know, I'm a plus size woman, I'm a fat lady, and I have a very good life. You know, I have a wonderful husband, I have wonderful friends, I have just an incredible, I have my dream job, I get to talk to readers like you. And I thought it was important that people remember that you don't actually, all of culture tells us that, like, in order to meet a prince and have a wonderful life and be successful, you have to look a particular way. And it's just not true. Like, I'm a living example of that. So I wanted to write a woman who didn't fit that mode of beauty and who was living her best life and enjoying her meals and falling in love and being sexy. And so that was, you know, a part of why Nina is so important to me.
Thank you so much for answering. I am very happy. I absolutely love you. I will become a journalist, actually. I got into college already. So maybe in the future, I will interview you. Who knows?
I would love that. That would be amazing.
So until then, the next reader is Tudor Ciornea. Tudor.
It's no problem. I know my name is very difficult to pronounce. I want to say hi, and I'm honored to be speaking with you, first of all.
Hi.
My question is mostly related to your anthology book, The Language of Horns, and I wanted to remark on how much I really like the way it was written. It was, I like how evocative the language is, but also direct, which is a bit, and I wanted to say, what in regards to, how do you stage your writing? Like, how you decide how to tell something or how to express it?
So when I'm writing a book, are you a writer?
I'm trying to train to be a writer. I'm in my I'm trying. I'm in my planning stage.
You're a writer. If you're writing, you're a writer. Okay.
If you say so.
Yes, you say it now.
I guess I'm a learning writer.
I'm a writer. I want you to say it.
I'm a writer.
Yes, hurrah! Okay. So for me, it always starts with like a little kernel, right? It's just one little bit of story. And you don't always know which are the stories that are gonna like spark and really take hold. And to me, those are the stories that ask the most questions that I can't stop thinking about. And then what I'll do is I'll try to write that story down in like 2 sentences, right? This is the heart of the book. Now, if you can't do that, you may not be ready to write it, right? You need to know what the heart of the book is. Then I take that and I build it into an outline. And my outlines are basically 12 sentences, 12 long sentences that tell each major beat in the book. And they lead one to the next, right? When this happened, then this happens until this happens. Okay. When this happens, then this happens until this happens. And they're sort of, they fit into a 3-act structure. And then I start filling it in. Because then what I have is I have a 1-page that is essentially a book. It's a whole book. It's just a very short book. And I start to fill in what I know about the story. And I start to break that into, okay, there's going to be this scene here and this scene here and this scene here. And I fill in until finally I have what looks more like what other people talk about as an outline. And I call that the 0 draft, right? And to give you an idea, the 0 draft of Six of Crows was about 30,000 words long. And the final draft of Six of Crows is about 130,000 words long. Okay, so that 0 draft, no one's ever going to see, but it's me finding my way through the story. And then I keep going and adding and building that story out until it's convincing. I think there's also a moment, like right now I'm revising Hellbent, and I love this part because the structure is there. And now it's just about making the scenes work, making the logic work, making sure the magic feels earned, making sure that the romance makes sense, making sure that the sentences, that the metaphors are original, that you're not dipping into cliche. So for me, I think it's important to remember, as I said before, like the writing is about the revision. The hardest part for me is getting the draft onto the page. And then after that, it's just finding the good stuff. I hope that's helpful.
Thank you so much for answering. And I'm going to take your advice very well. So thank you again. Thank you very much.
Good luck with your work.
Thank you. And to you too, to your future work.
Thank you.
The next one is Yulia Davos.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
So I wanted, first of all, to thank you for creating the Grishaverse. It got me through a really bad time back in 2017 when I discovered them, even if people were telling me that I'm a bit too old for young adult anymore. And now I really love Ninth House, and got myself wondering the past few years, what is Darlington doing? I wanted to ask you, what are 5 things we should get excited about while we wait for the sequel?
Oh my goodness. First of all, I'm glad the books could be there for you when you were going through a rough time, and I hope things are better now. And 5 things to be excited about. Okay. I don't know if I can think of 5. Well, Holly Black has a new book out called Book of Night, which is amazing. So if you're not reading Holly, you should be. Daniel Jose Older has a new book out called Ballad and Dagger. These are both books I blurbed, so I was clearly excited about them. And you should be too. The show I've been enjoying the most is F1 Drive to Survive on Netflix. I am embarrassed to admit it. I did not think I cared at all about F1 racing, but it's actually fascinating. Heroes, villains, you realize why you root for somebody and why you don't root for somebody. It's also just a lot of fun. Things to be excited about. Demon in the Wood is coming out this fall. We're going to have a very big Grishaverse 10th anniversary party that's going to be this fall too. And I don't know if you guys can get excited about it, but I'm super excited about it, which is I planted my first garden this spring, and the first cucumbers and mint are blooming. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about getting to be outside and see friends again, and sort of remembering to be human. And I hope down the road that we'll get to be excited about actually meeting in person, and then I'll get to visit Romania.
Yay, plants and Demon in the Woods. Thank you.
Alessia Borada, let's hear your question. Alessia, are you with us? Hey.
Oh my God. So I want to start with to say I'm so excited to meet you. And I have a question. What do you think of the people who, I mean, not really the people, but what do you think of the idea of a villain arc for Alina? And like her being with a Darkling villain together?
First of all, I love your background. And second of all, I could definitely imagine a very fun villain arc for Alina, but I would rather see her be villain solo. Like, I would love to see her just set fire to everything. Like, if I were going to take her to like dark Alina, she would have gone full Scarlet Witch. Like, she would have burned everything in her path. Like, it just would have been like mass destruction. Who will stop her? Possibly Cass, who can say? But I would have liked to see her power, and no pun intended, eclipse the Darklings. You know, I think he always envisioned like, we will rule together, except he never really treated her. He talked a lot about treating her as his equal, but he didn't really. That was kind of talk, right? Like, he put a collar on her and stole her power in book 1. And then was basically like, look what you made me do. Like, I would love to see her kind of come around and pull that on him as well. So it's not in my nature to just be like, ooh, power couple. Like, I want to see that tension play out in a dramatic way.
I would love that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So Mira Zaharia has a question for you.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm so excited to be here. My question was kind of answered because my favorite book was The Lives of Saints. I found it very interesting that you went for the Russian background, and I wanted to ask how you envisioned it. I mean, there are also other Slavic cultures that could have been used, but you chose this. And I wanted to ask why.
Well, I would not say that it's only Russian. I actually drew from a lot of folk and fairy tales that and like historical elements that were essential to other Slavic countries. But again, my family is from Russia, and so I think that created this kind of through line for me that pointed me in that direction first. I think too, in Lives of Saints, you'll see Zemeni saints, you'll see Fjordan saints. And I will tell you as well, I also love that you like that book. It's such a weird little book, right? It's more like an object, like an art object, than it is like a book of short stories. But it plays a major role in season 2. The writers took that book and they pulled some stuff out of it and just ran with it. And it's pretty amazing. So I'm glad you liked it. And yeah, I think for me, again, it's about, like, for instance, if you read about a Fjordan saint, what is the miracle they accomplish? And in Language of Thorns, if you read about a Fjordan mermaid, then what does that tell us about their own anxiety about women and about magical power as well?
Yeah,
So.
that's because why I'm an Orthodox, and I felt like I could understand the lives of saints, our saints as well, more through that book, you know, because
Wow.
I felt like more connected to their human side from your book.
Amazing.
You know?
Thank you. What a compliment. I'm truly honored. That is a beautiful thing. Thank you.
Thank you too for writing it.
Leigh, the hour is almost up, but we have a lot of questions still. So my question to you is if you have some more time for us.
We still have like another 10, 15 minutes, so I'm happy to answer questions. Sure, let's keep going till the time's up.
Let's keep going till the time is up.
Yeah.
Daria Markish, you're next.
Yes, hi. Leigh, first of all, I just want to say thank you for existing. Thank you for breathing here and for being alive. Thank you for that. Okay.
You're welcome. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Also, I just want to say this is my whole bookshelf only with your books. Those are only your books and only posters from Six of Crows, and I don't know. Okay, so my question for you would be, if you could bring one character from any of your books to reality, like to live, which one would it be and why?
Oh my gosh. Ooh. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm gonna choose Nikolai because I feel like he could fix so many things. Like, I feel like he's an inventor, he's an optimist, like he just fixes stuff. So he would drive me nuts because he talks constantly, but I feel like he would do a lot. Like, I feel like he's actually the most like noble character I've written. Like, he cares deeply about his people. He desperately wants to do the right thing. He's constantly asking himself, am I a good king? And I feel like that's something people don't do enough of, right? They think they deserve the power they've gotten, and they never step back to think like, am I a good leader? Am I a good person? So yeah, I think I would choose him, but I'd be like, let's have dinner and then you go do your thing, because I can't listen to you talk for too long.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
So the next one is Brandusha. Guys, let's be speedy here so as many of you get to ask your question. So Brandusha, let's hear you.
Good evening. When you are writing and you show people your work, aren't you afraid? I mean, you have some pretty dark descriptions, and aren't you like, they will say I'm over exaggerating, that it's fake, that it's just not it.
No. Look, when we write, we have to walk this tightrope, okay, between a kind of hubris, a kind of arrogance that says, I have a story to tell and it's going to be amazing and people are going to want to read it, right? Otherwise, we would just be writing a journal entry. We would never be thinking about publishing or telling that story. So that's part of it. But then in order to revise and make the book good, we have to enter a place of real humility. And of course, there's doubt and there's fear attached to that. But that's also why I never put a first draft of one of my books on the shelves. I value my friends and my critique partners' feedback. I need it. I want to be edited. I want to be told, no, this isn't working. This doesn't feel real, or this doesn't feel earned, or you've gone too far, or you haven't gone far enough. Like, that's why we have critique partners and editors. And so I want to be open to that feedback, because that's only going to make the story better. So yes, there's a lot of fear. I face every book launch with like my heart in my chest and just being scared that people aren't going to like it, or they're not going to feel I did right by the characters. And I always feel such gratitude, especially for the readers who come with me, who stick with me, who've been there since Shadow and Bone, who embraced Six of Crows, which was so different from Shadow and Bone, and then embraced Ninth House, which was so different from anything I'd written before. Like, that means the world to me, because people have limited hours in the day, and to be able to say, you know, to have that trust and have readers trust you in that way, just, it's something to not take for granted. So yes, there's doubt and fear, but if you want to write, like if you want to have this job, which I think is the best job ever, you kind of have to live with that and kind of sit with it and just get past it.
And how do you publish your first book and make connections?
So I wrote my first book. I gave it to a couple of friends who I trusted to give me good feedback. While they were doing that, I researched agents, and I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any connections. We didn't have social media back then, so I didn't have to worry about who was following me. And I got picked. It's called the slush pile. Like, agents have these big stacks of manuscripts to come in, and now it's email, like nobody sends them in. But I was lucky because Joanna Volpe read my query letter and was like, sounds okay, and then read my pages and really liked them. And she offered to represent me, and then we found the right editor at the right publishing house, and that was the way it went. But I didn't know anybody going in, and you don't have to either. It's really just about the book at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. And about villains, how can you just, I don't know, just mesmerize the one who reads these descriptions, these dark descriptions, to make them, I don't know, cry, feel it, just to scream villain, but no, broken one, and just sad.
Villains are always, look, villains are easy, honestly, because they're willing to do things the other characters are not, and that's exciting. Ruthlessness, not in our lives, but on the page, is exciting. It's compelling. And power is exciting and compelling. And for me, the temptation of that and what we choose to do with it, I think, is what makes somebody interesting, whether they end up playing the role of hero or villain. You know, I like anti-heroes because they have some of that ruthlessness. They have that willingness to be dangerous, to be unlikable, and they still get things done. So that for me is sort of the most exciting thing to engage with in a story.
Brandusha, thank you so much. Let's move on to Carmen Tudoroi.
I want to start by saying I'm very honored to be here because you're my favorite author alive. So thank you for existing, as someone before me said. My favorite book is Six of Crows. So I'll go and ask a question related to that. If you could go on a mission with 3 of the crows, which would you choose and why would you choose them?
First of all, I would not survive a mission with the crows. I don't do enough cardio, and I do not care for danger. I would be the person who stayed back home and was the mastermind. But if I was going to pick, I mean, obviously you need the whole team. You can't just pick 3, because then it's 3 of crows. Like, everybody has a role to play. And if the truth is, if any of them hadn't been there on the Ice Court heist, in the many heists and cons that exist in Crooked Kingdom, the auction and so forth, they would have failed. That's the point of building a team like that and a family like that. So yeah, but I would be at home, like, making the waffles, and they can go out and do the difficult stuff.
Thank you for answering.
The next one is Agnes Isaac.
Okay, hi. I am really excited to be here and see you. I am really shaking, so I'm sorry. And I don't know if you can hear me well, but I just want to say that I'm a huge fan and you're a huge inspiration, especially because I too plan on writing a book and I'm getting emotional, sorry. And I just want to ask you, how do you get into each of your characters' perspectives? Because I find that it is like in Six of Crows, you go from perspective to perspective, and it's so amazing because there's like so many different people and so many emotions, and it writes so well, and I'm just really, really happy to have read your books.
Well, thank you. I would say, when it comes to the POVs, like I said, revision is super important. They're not all going to come together at once. My favorite example of how a POV really comes together is Nina. So when I first wrote Six of Crows, believe it or not, she was kind of bland. Like I didn't quite know who she was yet. She was sort of boring. And then I was writing that first scene when Kaz comes to her and says, we're going to break into Hellgate and get Matthias out. And she is talking to him. There's a moment where she slips her slippers off. She takes her shoes off. She kind of toes them off with her feet. And she takes a big bite of cake. And Kaz is like, you have crumbs in your cleavage. And Nina says, I don't care. And I remember writing that line and being like, oh, there you are. Like, there's my girl. Like, that's who she is. And that became the touchstone that I always came back to when I was trying to find Nina's voice. Also, I have to say, music played a big role in kind of hammering home those POVs for me as I progressed. I basically listened to one piece of music when I was drafting Six of Crows. That was Time Lapse by Ludovico Einaudi. I listen to him when I draft all of my books. His music does something to my brain. But when I was revising, that's when I started pulling in music by The Clash, The Pixies, Sinister Kid, which I use all the time, was definitely Kaz's song. I'm trying to remember other people's songs. The Crooked Kind by Radical Face was a very important song. There's a song called Gravity by Nico Vega. That was Nina's song. So like having those and sort of listening to them and then using that energy to sort of go through their POV was definitely helpful for sure. I have to say, I don't know if we're going to get to this person, but I see the Kaz cosplay and the Amazing Kane, and I just needed to express my love because it's so good.
Thank you so much for answering. I love you a lot. You're amazing. Thank you.
Maria Kalin, let's hear your question. Maria, do you hear us?
I can see you, but I can't hear you.
Oh my God, no.
There you are. There you are. Okay.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, we can hear you.
My question for you today, oh my God, I'm so excited. First of all, I'm like shaking right now. Oh my God, you're my favorite author. Which one of the Crows is your favorite?
People keep asking me this. I'm like, why are you making me pick between my weird murder babies? I don't have a favorite. They're all a big pain in the butt. Like I love all of my characters and I have gone to war with all of my characters, right? Like any writer in this chat knows there's times when your characters are cooperating, they're talking to you, they're doing the thing. And there are other times where they're just like, no, like they've all been a pain. They've all been like, I'm not giving up my secrets, but eventually we reach a kind of detente. So yeah, I don't have a favorite crow at all, but I don't know. I love each of them and I loved writing each of them and I hope someday I'll get to write them again. But for right now, they need to sort of be off having their own adventures without me.
Thank you so much for answering my question. My personal favorites are Ines and Wylan. I just wanted to point this out.
You love the soft crows. You love the crows with heart.
Thank you so much. You're so pretty, by the way.
Peter, you're the next one.
Oh my goodness, me?
Yes.
Oh my God. First of all, I want to say that I'm so thankful that I'm here and I got the chance to ask you a question. But my question is mostly related to the show. because I don't know, I'm Hungarian, and I'm just so proud that the show is shoot at my motherland, even though I don't live there. And I just wanted to ask you that, are you satisfied with the place and the cast who are playing the roles of your characters?
Yes. I think we have one of the best casts on television, and I think I'm pretty honest with myself about these things, and I don't think the show would have worked at all if we didn't have these incredible people in it. And they're not just great actors and charismatic and fun, they are like so hardworking. When I was on set recently, I spoke to the stunt coordinator, and he said, we've never worked with a cast like this where they come in and they say, teach me. I want to walk out of here with more skills than I came in with, because they know that then means that they're going to be able to do more projects in the future. And it's part of the reason that, you know, I want to see season after season. Part of that's just greedy, but I think the greed is less about like, oh, I want to have a show on TV, than like, we found these incredible people who embody these characters in such an incredible, powerful, realistic way. I just want to keep getting to see them do what they do. And I loved Budapest. Hungary is amazing. And I would love to get to visit more places. I've only gotten to be just sort of in the city. I've only seen a fraction of it because we're on set so much of the time. It's not really like getting to visit. So I hope one of these days I get to come back and just be a tourist.
Thank you so much. And I also must tell you that last month I visited Budapest too. And seriously, I was just looking at the corners if I catch one of the cast members. Like seriously, I was just so excited if I would have the chance to meet them. And also I want to ask you if I pronounce Druskella well. Like,
yeah, actually, so the written pronunciation is Druskala, but nobody pronounces that way except me. So
thank you, Leigh, so much for answering my question. Thank you so much.
Anne, it's your turn.
I think this is going to have to be our last question because I got to go and take my doggy for a walk. I'm sorry.
So the last question comes from Anne.
Okay. Can you hear me first of all?
Yes.
Okay, hi, thank you for being here with us. And I have a really quick question, and I'm really wondering if you could change something from your books, what would be and why would you change it?
Everybody in Shadow and Bone wouldn't be white. Like that would be, and I got to change it. I got to change it on TV, but it's not comfortable to look back and be like, oh, I was really echoing a lot of the stories I'd read and grown up in, but not the world that I live in. Like my friend group is not all white and straight. I grew up in Los Angeles. Like that is just not the vibe. And I really had to sort of step back and be like, okay, I want to be a different kind of storyteller. So I think that's something we really got to challenge in the show, and part of the reason I'm grateful for it.
Thank you. And yes, we all love diversity. And I wanted to say also, not only me loves your books, my mother's as well. So yeah.
I'm so glad to hear that. I would also say nobody remembers Harsha from Rune and Rising, but he was one of my favorite characters to write of all time. Like Harsha and Oncat are like my forever friends. And so I kind of wish I hadn't, if you haven't read it, spoilers, but I wish I hadn't killed him because I would love to still be writing. So
thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I wish I could stay longer, but I just want to thank you all for showing up. I haven't done an event like this really in years, and it was just incredibly joyful. And I'm so grateful to all of you and the kind things you said. And I really hope I get to visit in person one of these days.
Well, we hope that also. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you all the readers for being here. I know that there are over 20 of you that didn't get to say their questions, but maybe the next time we're gonna see Leigh face to face, and I don't know, maybe then we're gonna get to say all our questions. So good night to everyone. Thank you.
Bye everybody. Good night.
We love you, Leigh.
Bye.
Love you.
Have a good
Bye.
day. Love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.